Welcome to Inside Sports Talk with your host, Johanna-Rosalye. I am joined today by my two amazing co-hosts, Ed Cole and PLR. Welcome back. And we are also joined by our special guest, Phoenix Suns broadcaster, John Bloom. How are you? Thank you for coming on and joining us and talk some basketball, the first part of the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe and Ed and PLR. Good to see you guys. You know, I'm so used to seeing your co-hosts during basketball season in the Al McCoy media room. And after the game with Ed, he's my engineer extraordinaire and contributor on the post-game show. And so it's just great to be able to at least catch up virtually. Hopefully soon enough, we'll do it in person.
And Joe, let's make sure to address him as Professor Bloom. He's elevated himself.
Professor
I haven't taught
Bloom,
a class yet.
So we teach
haven't taught my first class yet, though. So we'll see. I think I'm still kind of flustered, Ed. You tell me what you think I should have him call me, because I don't know if I'm going to have him call me Professor Bloom, and nobody really calls me by my first name. It's never really been like not a lot of people call me John, so I'm confused. Mr. Bloom is my dad, so it's just a weird situation. I'll figure it out. I think something will just come naturally. Maybe I'll go with Vanguard. Should I go with Vanguard? Anybody see that crazy documentary?
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna have to skip that one. Yeah.
You could always tell them to call you. Shut up when you're talking to me.
Well, that's awesome, though. Congratulations, Bloomer.
Yeah, congrats. Congrats, bro.
Thank you.
All right. So we have very amazing Christmas present this year. We have basketball. We know the year that it's been for 2020, the pandemic. We had, all the tumultuous schedules with not only NBA, but all the sports. So we have the opener, NBA opener, just, it's here. We're just right there at that start. They kick off, and of course we have to talk with Phoenix Suns. They have Chris Paul joining Devin Booker. They have their opener against the Dallas Mavericks. So I don't think we can get a better Christmas with the NBA this year than that, and especially coming off of 8-0 run. Unfortunately, they didn't make the playoff run in the bubble. But I'm just so excited with everything that has happened during the off season and how they're going to be opening in the season for the 2020-2021.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think maybe the only thing that would have been better, Joe, is if they got a game on Christmas. I think a lot of fans were really hoping that the Suns would play on Christmas, because it kind of signifies a rival in a way in the NBA when you're one of those teams that gets chosen to play on that great schedule of games. They didn't get that, but the fact that they're opening up on national TV against the Dallas Mavericks is certainly enticing for Suns fans. I know we're going to be counting the minutes down to Wednesday night's opener. And then after that, a chance to get healthy, to win some games, because they got some games against some teams that, they'll be favored to win. And, the two in Sacramento come to mind immediately right after they open at home against Dallas. So it should be an exciting week. I know I'm thrilled to see them just go play a game with the purpose of winning. We saw 4 games in the preseason, but there was no purpose in winning. It was about coming together. It was about learning each other, because there's 9 new faces in that locker room, which is crazy to think about. That's a big number coming off of an impressive step that this group took. So now they've got to incorporate these guys, which is why it might take a little bit of time for them to really hit their stride. Some people might expect them to just pick up where they left off in Orlando on that great run that was so Disney, wasn't it? I mean, it was almost like written by Disney. But I would say, maybe a more realistic expectation is for them to have fits and spurts like a young team has in the first week or two, maybe 3-4 weeks of the season. It'll take them to really get into that stride. And when they do, this team can be very, very good. I mean, this is a deep team, probably the deepest team of any Suns team I've covered. Now it's going to be up to the coaching staff to figure out those rotations. That might be something that takes some time as well.
Bloomer, with those 2 games with the Jazz and the Lakers, what did you see from the Suns that you liked, and what are some things that you didn't like as they get prepared for Dallas this week?
Well, I mean, Ed, I think the first thing that stands out is Devin Booker's ready for the playoffs now. If he could hit like the button to just skip the regular season, the simulate button, let's simulate the season because we know we're getting there. And let's let this guy eat in the playoffs because he's ready right now, is he not? I mean, watching him play, he is the guy that looks like he looked in the bubble. A lot of the guys are going to work their way back to that, but he seems like he's already there. And that could be great because, again, he's going to set that example. And Chris Paul is there to do the same and in a different way in a lot of respects. I saw the ball movement when the starters were out there. I thought that was impressive. I think DeAndre Ayton is going to be one of those guys that's going to take some time to get comfortable with Chris Paul, how he operates, but also is going to take a significant step. And so I think he showed me enough to still believe that. And then I saw Langston Galloway burning it up as a potential microwave oven off the bench, which is very exciting because it's just more shooting and you can't have enough of that. And this has been a team, Ed, as well as anybody. We've been talking about the daycare center for years that they've been running here in Phoenix, but it isn't anymore. We got grown-ups in the room. We got basketball players who are pros. That's the word that a lot of these guys have used in their locker Zooms, as I like to call it, the Zoom calls we've been on. They're pros. What does that mean? It means they know what it takes to go to work every day, that this is a job, and that they have to accept their roles in order for the team to advance and be successful. It takes being a pro to have that mindset, to have that whole thing. And we've been watching guys turn into pros. Some have, some haven't, and they've left, right? But we've been watching that process for this decade since the 7 seconds or less came to an end. Now, it seems as if they've assembled a team full of pros. What does that mean? I mean, does it mean that they're going to get to the playoffs? I think so. Does it mean that they're going to host a playoff series? I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Does it mean they're going to win a championship? Probably not. Let's tap the brakes on that for now. But they're in the right kind of path. They're going down the bright and sunny path instead of the dark and dreary path, which is good by me, my man.
Hey, Bloomer, the one thing that I thought about with this team is when you said grown-ups, they have a grown-up coach, too. They have a coach that's actually been there. He's done everything that a coach could do. He's taken a team that's young. He's built a team up, and he's taken over a veteran team, for example, when he got Chris Paul the first time. So I think first you got to say you got a grown-up head coach. And I'm not knocking Jeff. I'm not knocking anybody else, but it's a difference when you have a first-time head coach and a seasoned head coach. The vibe, the feel is different. And two, I think the one thing that they did this year was give the Suns, James and Monty, they made them legitimate. And by that, I mean, like you said before, it was draft a 16-year-old, draft a 15-year-old, draft 14-year-old, and let's wait and watch. Not anymore. Chris Paul coming here actually made it cool for other free agents to want to come here now. So before, what they did in a bubble with Ricky was great. That was the point. Now Chris takes them to that next point and makes them a cool franchise. I love Ricky, but I don't believe Jay Crowder comes here for Ricky and Book. I believe he comes here for Chris Paul and Book. And there's also, that's the business aspect of it that a lot of fans don't look at. They'll say, oh, well, Chris Paul is $40 million. No, but Chris Paul is also telling other veterans, I came here, check this place out. When you're free, we can fit you. You come here too. Because that trade wasn't for just the way everybody makes it seem. That trade was really for Ricky Rubio, Chris Paul. Kelly Oubre wasn't going to stay here. They weren't going to pay him, just my opinion, no inside news. Why pay him over $20 million when you have Cam Johnson and you have Mikal Bridges, budding superstars that combined this year make $9 million? That makes no sense. And if you don't pay him now, you never get a free agent guy to sign in the middle of a year. Obviously, once the season starts, you don't get fair trade market value at that point anyway. So you knew that was gone. And the other guys weren't going to play anyway. So you really traded Chris Paul for Ricky Rubio. And who in their right mind wouldn't trade a walk-in-the-door Hall of Famer running a point guard that has taken a team to the playoffs in every city he's been in? Who would make that trade? So I think the Suns are a legitimate team, not just playoffs, but around the NBA when teams are looking at this franchise now.
No, I agree, Paul, and that's why the bubble was so important. It necessarily wasn't the impetus for the team's success that could be coming, but I think what it was proof. Right? You remember when we had to do those math problems back in the day, and you had to do the proof. You had to show the teacher this is the proof of it. Well, to me, What they did, the 8-0, what they went down there is they proved we've got something cooking here. Come join us, right? And so Chris Paul made that trade happen with Devin Booker. Don't be kidding yourselves out there. I know James Jones and Sam Presti signed off on it, but that was CP3 running the deal, saying, "Here's where I want to go. Let's make this happen." So they did. They made it happen, and here he is. Then what happens after that is you get Chris Paul and Devin Booker on the phone with Jay Crowder saying, "Hey, you saw what happened in the bubble. Now we got CP3 on board. Let's do this." And he comes on. Here comes Langston Galloway, Etuan Moore, more grown-ups, right? They're all deciding to join this team because of that proof. So I do think the bubble played a big role from that standpoint. The other thing is it also proved that this team could move forward without Kelly Oubre and do so in a positive manner, as tough as that might be for the fan base, because I know you all grew to love the guy. I liked him too. He was a lot of fun to watch. He was a lot of fun to talk to. He always brought it. He was always on. And you don't have guys like that all the time. You just don't. He's a rare breed. And I'm happy for him that he went to a good spot. He's going to be fine. Ricky's going to be fine too. I think Ricky will relish the role he's going to have there. And I do think we have to pay both those guys a debt of gratitude when it all is said and done and this team reaches the heights it reaches, because without what they did last season, they maybe don't. They don't even have this whole proof. They don't even have this whole ramp up, and so they are going to get credit from my standpoint. I'll always remember Ricky Rubio in a Suns uniform because of what we had before him and that drought at the point guard spot that lasted seemingly decades, even though it was only a few years. And that's what made him look so great. It's like when I tell people, they ask me, what do you think of living in the desert? How do you like life out there? And I love it. And I also tell the story that I think a lot of it has to do with where you move here from, right? Where did you come to the desert from? Did you come from some beautiful location where the weather's awesome all the time? Well, then maybe you don't have the same aspect that somebody like me who moved from the Motor City felt about living here after spending 6 winters in Detroit. Okay. So I'm just saying, like, same thing with the point guard spot. And now here we are with Chris Paul, with a guy who I mentioned grown-ups, might be the most grown-up dude in the NBA, from a standpoint of his mental approach, and how he looks at this game of basketball and the art of team building, right? And of helping develop teams and players. He does that. There's proof. There's another proof. You can go look at it, the track record. Now, what hasn't he done? Won it all. Wouldn't that be something, man? Wouldn't that be something for Chris Paul to finally get his ring while the Suns finally get their ring? I mean, that to me, they're back to a Disney script. Let's go. I'm ready for it. Sign off on it. Let's do it. Let's see it in real life.
Bloomer, speak on the importance of the relationship that James Jones and Monty Williams has, and how that relationship and how those guys are continuing to build a synergy and that bond between each other, how that has a trickle-down effect on the players and the organization as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. I think there's a strong trust there, Ed. That's what it starts with. Those guys trust each other. Monty trusts James to buy the groceries, and James trusts Monty to make the meal. And that's what you need in those two positions. The general manager's got to go out and find the talent and bring them here. And then the coach has to maximize that. And I think that Monty has a good opportunity in front of him with his staff. I feel like there was some changes on that bench too. Darko Rajakovic got a lot of love for what he did with this young group last year. He moved on to Memphis, and now they've got Kevin Young and Brian Randall are two new guys that look forward to getting a chance to meet, hopefully in person sometime, and learn what they're all about. What James has done, some people might say, well, he lucked into the Kelly Oubre thing because it was kind of a backdoor deal where originally they were going to get Dylan